Okay, hi everyone. Let me just get my presentation up. Okay, so please, Sean, can you just confirm the slide is up there? Is it?
Yeah, we can see your slide deck now. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed your break and enjoyed the morning session. This session is going to be a presentation about an innovation, a community building platform called Hexy Time, which is all around giving your time away to get more back. And my name is Hesham Abdalla. I'm a consultant pediatrician working in Oxford, where I'm head of QI. And John?
Hi everyone, my name is John Lodge. I co-founded Hexitime with Hesham, and I work in the NHS in London for NHS England as their head of quality improvement.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so the outline of the presentation over the next kind of 40 minutes is really going to be, firstly, why we do what we do, where does this idea come from, who we are, how time banking, the principle by which Hexy Time is kind of founded, its kind of USP, so to speak, the difference it makes and the difference it's made, and then finally how you could benefit or contribute. And it's going to be an interactive workshop, so there'll be a lot of us talking, but I think we're as interested in you as you may be interested in this, and so there'll be opportunities for you to share your own reflections as we go along. So to start off with, really, I thought it'd be useful to hear our story, where this comes from, and I'll start off, and John can perhaps supplement this. So I'm a consultant pediatrician, and the story from Hexitime, from my point of view, started about 5 years ago when I was clinical lead for my department, which was, considering I'd been looking forward to being a consultant since kind of way back when I was a kid myself. This was kind of should have really been the pinnacle of my career, and I was leading a group of fellow consultants in a district general hospital, trying to improve quality of care for our patients and our populations, actually. So we were very much perhaps a little bit ahead of the curve in talking about population-based medicine, and we're doing some amazing things. Really. A large part of our trust coming out of special measures, and in fact I remember the day that we came out of special measures because it was in George Eliot and East in a small DGH, and when the announcement came from the chief exec to come to the canteen, most of the staff thought we could fit in the canteen, and as he made that announcement there were genuine tears, actually, as there's been a lot of work to get to where we've done. But what I didn't realize at the time was that was probably the beginning of the end, really. There was no parachute payment when that happened, and actually the funding that we were getting from the TGA disappeared. The chief exec went to a larger trust in Cumbria. Medical director retired, nurse director went to Dubai, and the conversations, that kind of cohesive top team, dissolved essentially. The conversations all went from quality to finance, and resources became tighter and tighter, and we're being asked to do more and more with less and less, and it got really hard, actually. And I remember working harder. It's probably the only thing I knew how to do, coming in early, leaving late, and neglecting all the other things that are important in my life. And actually, what I didn't do really is empower my own team, and I became increasingly distant and perhaps ostracized, not helping or being helped, and I resigned not just my clinical lead role but my consultant role, and I was unemployed for the first time in my career, and possibly unemployable as well. And it was during this nadir in my life that I kind of came across this concept of time banking, and time banking. I joined a local time bank. I'd not come across it before, and I found it a really intriguing concept. What could happen if you're in a local time bank? If, say, your next door neighbour breaks their leg, you could spend an hour of your time mowing their lawn, and they pay you 1 credit, and you could use that credit to get help from someone else in that community. It might be a local accountant to help you with your tax return. But crucially, what I noticed is 3 things happening. Firstly, you got stuff done without having to pay for it. Secondly, it connects community members up in a way that they possibly never would have connected up before. And thirdly, and this is subtle but probably the most important in our conversation today, is that it's an asset-based approach. So you might not be able to do much, you might be down on your luck, but you can mow a lawn. And so it's a very kind of enthusing position to be in. And I started seeing similarities between this community approach or community to our own context within the NHS. We were also short of resources, there's no money. We're also working in our silos. Often you wouldn't know the team down the corridor, let alone down the road. And thirdly, certainly for me as a clinical lead, I was very much focused on what I couldn't do rather than what we could do. So this kind of idea was rumbling around in my mind as to how this could apply when I met John through the Q community. And John, perhaps you can maybe pick up the story from there.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add where some things I was seeing. I was increasingly becoming frustrated at the way the labour market operates in healthcare. So I could see a number of problems. One was that you had very, very busy, borderline burnt out clinical staff at the front line that were being overloaded, and at other parts of the system there were people with capacity and also the energy and the will to help. But the way our labour market worked, it was very difficult to get that capacity to where it was needed without either undergoing formal training or applying for jobs. The other thing I could see was that people were being defined by their band and their job title. And of course, we know, we feel it, that overlooks a lot of the skills and the talents that you may have. And for me, on a personal level, I just made a career change, and I was finding that a lot of my best skills and my best talents were invisible to the NHS because of my job title. And so I was longing for a way to deploy those skills and talents on my terms and to access skills and talents of other people, regardless of job title, regardless of structure around employment in the health service. And it was at that time that the Health Foundation introduced me to Hesham, and he told me about timebanking, and we basically merged this concept of timebanking with this need for a marketplace where we could match skills and talents. And so we very quickly pulled together a digital prototype, and we took it to the Health Foundation in late 2018 to a national innovation competition called the Q Exchange. And we shared our prototype with about 400 people and got loads of really, really helpful feedback, and amazingly walked away with an award for a grant in recognition of the innovation. And we used that grant and that award to develop the platform that you see and know today. And since then, we've spun off in the last 2 years to form Hexy Time as a social enterprise. It's completely independent, works as a not-for-profit. We've got a growing team. We've got growing projects and clients that are focused around equality and time banking and sharing skills and expertise to improve health and care. And I think we're going to show you a few slides and then maybe some details of the platform itself about what it's doing today. So back to you, Hesham.
Hi, John, can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you fine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry, I could have. Okay. Shall I move on to the next slide, John?
Yeah,
okay, perfect. Okay, so I think it would be helpful in terms of framing the conversation going forward is you could perhaps individually just type in your job role straight in the chat there first of all. That would be a good place to start. So again, if you can just start doing that, just to give me a bit of a context in terms of what your role is within the organisation, that would be helpful to get an understanding as to who is in the room. And once you've done that, if you can put down maybe a sentence on how do your staff currently find ways to collaborate for improvement, either professional improvement or professional development, or service improvement? So that's the second question.
Do we need to slow down the calls?
So we've got a HR trainee on the management training scheme. We've got a resourcing manager, an ex-exec director, recently left in April, we've got a head of service delivery, a transformation lead.
Okay, thank you for that, John. And then that second question, how do staff currently find ways to collaborate for improvement? So where would they go to find the right person who may be able to help them develop both either professionally or in terms of their service development or service improvement? And then once you've done that, the final question is, how would you describe your organizational culture? That could be positive or negative, but if you can think of 3 words that would describe your organizational culture at the moment, what would you say would be?
So we've also had a service line manager join. Thanks, Tracy. A few points in the chat. So Charlotte has said that she would hunt down her continuous improvement team in the trust and find those people and ask them. Joe has said that they look for mentors for people.
And then finally, we're using this innovation to help reduce inequalities. Some of the awards we've won and been nominated for include the Best Not-for-Profit working with the NHS. We've won the IT Digital Innovation Award. We've been on a finalist for the People and Organisational Development Initiative, as well as a number of others. And it's recently been presenting in national and international conferences, this innovation. So it's kind of well established, despite the fact that it's relatively new, just in the last 3 years, as you heard.
Looks like Hesham's having a few Wi-Fi issues.
Say that again, John.
So you're cutting out a bit, Hesham. You're back.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so individuals or community members on Hexitime vary from the top and the bottom of the NHS. Really, we've got head of NHSX, NHS Digital, head of NHS Improvement Scotland, chief execs and chairs, but all the way through, as you can see on that screen, to nurse researchers, fellows, clinical studies officers, program managers, nurses, doctors, AHP. So there's a broad range of individuals on the platform, and it's that diversity of experiences and expertise, and maybe just enthusiasm, which is what drives the platform forward. So how time banking works, I've described to you an example of how that works from a community setting, but you might have noticed that there are 3 rules to this platform. Firstly, that all activities on the platform are to improve health and care. So essentially, it's a community of purpose rather than a community of place. Secondly, no money changes hands. And thirdly, and crucially, 1 hour equals 1 credit. So there is no, irrespective of your gender, your ethnicity, or even your pay grade, your value is the same on the platform, and that gives it a very powerful value based, which you'll see in a moment. This short video gives you a description. This is based on real exchanges on the platform, exactly how that comes across. So just bear with me for a moment. This.
Yeah. Nature of the base,
Professional time bank in healthcare. Meet Chris and Alice. They both work in healthcare and are committed to improving the quality of the services they provide. They each have skills to offer and are keen to learn from other members in the Hexy Time community. Chris is looking to conduct a research study, but is unsure how to design an effective focus group. So he searches on Hexy Time to see who might be able to offer help. He uses the search filters to browse the content in the time bank and finds an interesting offer from Alice. Alice has recently completed a PhD using qualitative research methods, and she's keen to help other members of the Hexy Time community with their research and service evaluation. Chris decides to take her up on the offer, and Alice accepts his request. He receives an email notification and takes a look at the actions on his dashboard for next steps. He messages Alice to arrange a time to call, and she sends him some useful information to help him get started. They chat on Zoom for nearly 2 hours, and Chris feels that he is advancing towards his goal of becoming a competent researcher. He logs the 2-hour call in his dashboard, which sends Alice her time credits, along with a thank you message. Alice now has 3 time credits to spend in the time bank, and is looking to get some advice around inclusive research. She wants to ensure diversity in her research, but she's unsure who to ask for help. She submits a request and adds some useful keywords to make it easier for other members to find. Mushtaq sees her request and responds with an offer of reverse mentoring to help ensure better ethnic diversity and inclusion in her research. She also encourages Alice to join the Cultural Competence Goal on Hexy Time so that she can monitor progress, receive relevant information, and collaborate with other members, also promoting inclusive leadership in healthcare. On Hexy Time, everyone's time is valued equally. To join the community and share your skills, visit hexitime.com.
Okay, so that kind of short video just describes some real exchanges and showed how some of the key principles there, which is that expertise can move around the department or an organisation or even between organisations, but also importantly, this key point of equity between individuals, it really allows sharing, because it takes money off the platform, essentially allows real changes and real exchanges to happen, as you'll see in a moment, on quite a huge scale. So we're working with a number of partners at the moment. These are some of them. The NHSR communities are a national network of coders who are using the R programming language, the number of AHSNs, for example, National Institute for Healthcare Research, and the SHI Network, who are a national network developing women of colour in digital tech health. And you'll see in a moment how this has impacted on them. We've also got a number of patients and carers on the platform, many of whom will have some really useful skills from their kind of their day job, so to speak, but also they've got expertise through experience that is really valuable when it comes to improving healthcare services. So that allows a patient to be genuinely involved. Sometimes people ask what the benefit is for patients, what they can do with their credits. An actual one feature we have on the platform is that you can gift credits to other people, and because you can join either as an individual or an organisation, say your local GP, surgery or hospital was to join it, you would then be able to gift the credits that you've earned to those individuals to then help improve services further. John, I wonder if you want to just talk through the SHI Network program as well.
Yeah, so we partnered with a network called the SHI Network, and they're all about supporting women of colour to professionally develop in their digital health careers. And so I think one of the reasons why they wanted to use Hexitime to host their network was because of this point around equality in time banking. 1 hour is 1 credit. So people that participate on Hexitime are genuinely doing so as equals. And specifically what they use the platform for is their shadowing program. So they access generous people that are offering their mentoring shadowing opportunities, and they can be of any color. And then they share this with their membership, their women of color, who then either request these shadowing opportunities, or they see opportunities on the platform and take them up. They do so on the basis of swapping packets of 6 hours for those shadowing opportunities, and they range from frontline NHS digital work through to strategic stuff at NHSX and NHS Digital, and even opportunities at places like Google and IBM. And it's been interesting for us exploring how organisations in the private sector offer their expertise to help women of colour in healthcare. And it's been running now for about a year, and I think, as Hesham said, they've gone on to win a HSJ award for that work. And what's really nice for the mentors and the people offering their help is they're being reimbursed for their shadowing time, and then they can then use those time credits that they're earning through Hexitime to spend on resources that they need for their own service improvement projects. And I'd also add, as a white guy, it's a really nice opportunity for white people and people in senior positions to offer shadowing opportunities and to take practical action around their purpose. And what Hesham's just showing on the screen there is what's called a Kumu map. We use Kumu software, and you can see the exchanges that are happening through that network, how people are connecting and over what subject. And so what we do with a lot of our partners on Hexitime is generate, I guess you've got like community level intelligence for their networks to see who their players are and how time and generosity and kindness is flowing through that system. And we can see an example there with Danielle, like some really quite senior offers being made through the network. So Danielle's the chair of an NHS provider, and we can see here that she's connected to like 4 or 5 people, offering some really quite interesting shadowing opportunities at an executive board level. And of course, those opportunities through the network are from board level all the way down to service line level as well. And that's one of many examples of the types of networks that Hexitime is working with to support these types of intricate connections. Oh, you're on mute again, Hesham.
Yeah, I'll just share the NHSR community map as well, just to give another flavour of how that works.
And while you bring that up, Tracy's just asked where the name Hexitime came from. So Hexitime started off, its original name was the Healthcare Skills Exchange. And we realised very quickly that the Healthcare Skills Exchange, while it does what it says on the tin, was never going to really sort of catch on when it comes to branding and imagery. So we condensed it. So it became Healthcare Skill Exchange, Hexy Time, a healthcare exchange of time, Hexy Time, and we condensed there. And now, ideally, what we want Hexy Time to become synonymous with sort of generosity, kindness, sharing time, and time banking. And you're welcome, Tracy. And so Hesham's just brought up the NHSR community on here. They're a national, actually international community of computer coders, and you can see there all this activity in the map has come through Hexitime, and we can see in some detail who their major players are, like Chris here, and there's Daniela over to the right of the map. We can see who's making these connections. Chris and Daniela are really interesting people, because you can see that Daniela's got a mixture of like red and blue around her, whereas Chris is predominantly blue. What those colours denote, the blue is people exchanging skills within their community, so within their coding community. And the red is where they're exchanging skills on Hexitime, but with other networks and communities on the platform. So you can see Daniela is a real like 50-50 mix of both of helping other people and taking resources, working in her community, and then connecting her community to other communities. Chris does a lot of give and take, but predominantly around coding. And so within here, we can see very clearly like what the subjects are that are being exchanged, how often they're happening, and generate that intelligence for the community. Thanks, Hesham.
Sorry, every time I have to do this, I have to.
Yeah, you haven't. Bear with us. We're on a new platform here. It's different to Zoom, having to swap between things.
Okay. So I just wanted to kind of highlight a few things about how Hextime works. You've seen it on an individual level, you've seen this kind of helicopter level, but actually more important than this, I guess, from an organizational point of view, is how this shifts culture, or how it improves the culture within organizations. So core to this is the changing around mental models, this principle that we've put right from the start, that actually everyone's time is valued equally. So it helps level hierarchy in ways that perhaps wouldn't otherwise have happened in many organizations. And a small example of that recently I can give you in a moment. Secondly, at a kind of a semi-explicit level, it affects all relationship and connection. So rather than having reciprocal exchanges whereby you help me and I help you, that's the way that kind of we would normally work. It allows a three-way connection, and therefore increases the connections between individuals. And then finally, at that kind of, if you're looking about the iceberg level, just below the waterline, it allows the policies, practices, and resource flows to change. So it essentially is working on that kind of multiplicity of levels within an organizational development package. And just by way of example, one delightful offer we've had on recently was from Olivia. Olivia is a student nurse who you could walk past in the corridor many times without really even knowing who she was. But actually, Olivia's superpower, kind of secret superpower, is that she writes amazing poetry. So she has put on offer on Hexitime of doing a poetry workshop for staff, and many staff, particularly in times like this, need poetry. So even though she may be probably the most junior person within the organisation, she has a quality and a skill that will be very useful for her as an individual, but also as the organisation. She can earn credits through that workshop and then use those either for her professional development or for the team that she's in. So just a couple of examples there on how it shifts cultures within the organizations. I think it's probably worthwhile at this point to have a think about, what do you need within your team or within your organization? And it might be helpful for you now to see if you can find that on Hexitime. So if you were to go on now to hexitime.com and see if you can use that search function to help to find something that you may need. So maybe, John, if you were to do that yourself now, it might be useful. So if I stop sharing, whilst people are doing that search themselves, if perhaps you want to share your screen and do a search for a skill or a resource that you might need now in your role as improvement lead at NHS England.
Yeah, let's see if my share screen works. Great, here we go. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm logged in. Let's say I'm doing a quality improvement project and I need some help with analytics, maybe some spreadsheet support. If I click on the magnifying glass here, or I could go down to this search bar. Let's have a look for activities. Let's type in a keyword like spreadsheet. Okay, here we go. So, lady called Lynn is offering support with Excel. I can see that she's offered 10 hours. I'll just sign in very quickly. You can see she's offered 10 hours. If I wanted to check out Lynn's credentials, I could click on her profile here, and that would go through to see Lynn. I can see from her tags that she has interests in quality improvement, statistical analysis, audit and evaluation, and she's based in the Northwest. But I'm based in London, so I'm gonna hope that she'll be able to do this online. So if I want this, I click on take up this offer. She's offering this in packets of up to 2 hours. So I'll say, let's take 2, and I'll then drop her a line. And I'll ask her if we can do this online. Now, what will happen now, once I hit submit, is that will go through to a confidential inbox. And that'll land in Lynn's inbox. And then what Lynn and me will do is follow a simple 3-step process. So that message will land here, that sort of introduction, hello. And then we'll make sure the exchange is relevant and appropriate. So she might, for example, say, this is fine, just don't send me confidential patient data, for example. We then conduct the exchange, hopefully online, or it could be in person, and then I'll trade the credits, and I'll give her the 2 credits, and then I'll be, if I want to, I can repeat that. But as you can see, simple search on the platform, and I found what I needed quite quickly. Now, the other thing I could have done, if I didn't go through the search feature, is I could have just gone down on the platform and started browsing the open market, and I could started to just look for stuff. So if I'd have done that, I would have also here found Toby's offer of Excel support, and equally I could have just clicked on that, checked Toby out, and then done the same thing through that offer. So there's a number of ways of finding what you need. The search that I showed you is quite reliant on the people who post their activities put in the correct search fields. You see, like search fields like coaching and mentoring here on their activities. So when you do share your own activities, I'd really encourage you to put detailed search fields on. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, I'm just going to go through the last couple of slides, and then more than happy to take any questions and comments, and be interested in your critique as well, really. So in terms of how time banking works, if you need a need yourself, it could be professional development, it could be a skill support, just as John demonstrated. It could be even for research or innovation. It allows you to search for activities. You could take up the support, and you can even post it as a request if you can't find that activity yourself. And what we found is that requests get taken up very quickly. In fact, paradoxically, faster than offers. You can have offers on there for really generous offers for days or weeks, whereas it's the requests are taken up. So I think that's really evidence of the generosity of people on the platform and the strength of the community. And then finally, as a benefit for you from an organization perspective, it can help you identify your assets. You know, who knows what are the kind of tacit knowledge, what are the skills that may be untapped within your organization. It's a cultural shift to endorsing showing vulnerability and the readiness to ask for help, and therefore bring people together. And it also rewards collaboration in a very kind of tangible way, and thereby builds a community of improvers. 2 things you might want to consider in terms of bringing this within your institution. Firstly, leverage points. The NHS endorses every individual, every staff member to have 3 days of volunteering a year. That's 64 hours per person. Could you institute that as per kind of national guidelines or support? And maybe thinking about the integrated care system, the very fact that this dissolves organizational boundaries could be an advantage from your ACS workforce plans. Happy to take any questions in the last minute or two, but I'm interested in your reflections or any points that you'd like to make. Yeah, thank you for that point, Tracy. So what you'll have noticed on those two maps we showed, that Kuma map and that map of the NHSR community, is what wasn't on either of those maps, actually, was the organisation that those individuals worked for. Because in a way that was completely irrelevant, actually. It's by using this funny money, by taking off line management and financial incentives, it suddenly allows things to happen that wouldn't otherwise have happened. But yeah, thanks for that comment. Okay, with it being 1:40, I think we'll close the session there. More than happy to take any comments, either messaging on Twitter or via the platform itself, and I hope to see some of you on there and involved and engaged in the community.
There's
Thank you.
there's a quick question in there about next steps from Tracy. Are we pushed for time, Hesham? Do we have to be back?
I think it's 1:40 finish. I mean, I'm not sure.
Oh, it is a 1:40 finish. Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like we'll have to wrap up there. Oh,
okay, we've got 5 minutes. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So in terms of next steps, John, do you want to pardon that?
Yeah, it's a good question, Tracy. So we're really careful to make sure that Hexy Time is, run by the people for the people. So we've kept it independent. So we would like Hexy Time to be synonymous with generosity, sharing, and improving services. And so we're really trying to build the membership through the UK health and social care system, and indeed encourage people from other parts of the country, the charity sector, patients, private sector, to share their skills and expertise to support that mission. We found in the last sort of 6 months that about 10% of our users now are joining from overseas. So we've got a growing number, mainly clinical staff, joining from overseas, and also some analytical data staff from the Australian Department of Health. So there's obvious next steps in growing the international base and becoming that community of communities, improving health and social care, regardless of geography overseas. We're having some exciting conversations in other hospital systems internationally to see if we can set up local professional healthcare time banks in their systems, and long term we'll start to connect those so that we can all benefit from that joint network.
I just add to John's point there that the more individuals that are in the community, the richer it is. So in this kind of concept of network of networks, as you see, actually the more skills that are available, the better it is for every individual who is on that platform. And really the world that we want to create is one where it's as easy to give an hour as it is to give £1 for charity. And this free connections around collaboration, I think, will make for a better healthcare system, and actually more importantly better health for the patients and the populations that we serve.
Yeah, and by all means, if anybody on the call is interested in helping us to pursue that mission, do drop us a line after the workshop, and we can go into a lot more detail and how we sort of set up these ambassadorial roles locally, or explore time banking more formally in your hospital system or your integrated care system or what have you. We're very open to those conversations. Thank you, Tracy. Cheers. Okay, should we close at that point then? Mm-hmm. Thank you everyone for your time. It's great of you to join us. And I'm just reading out Ellie's message. She's saying that you've now got a break, and they'll be rejoining at 2 p.m. for the afternoon plenary. Okay, thank you everybody. Bye.